Hello! Hopefully you can hear me. I have to wait 30 seconds till my trusty assistant tells me I'm ready to go and that you can indeed hear me. So I've got my eye on the chat. Who's going to get there first to tell me they can hear me? Oh, what if you can't hear me? No, it'll be fine. Fingers crossed. Excellent. Hello. Right, I'm going to give it 30 seconds or so. Get everybody settled in, settle down. I've got lots of thumbs up. Excellent. Excellent. Right, okay. We should just get on with it then, shouldn't we? Because the people watching on catch up are going to want to get on with it. So we'll get on with it. Right, hello. Just to make sure that you know I'm not telling porky pies here and that this isn't live. It's live. So hello, Richard. Hello, Floyd. Hello, 2 steps away. I'm liking that. Hello, Pandemonium, Kim, and Jammy. Jammy should be in there somewhere. So hello, I am indeed live. I am with you live. Okay, we're broadcasting in HD. Make sure you're receiving in HD. There is a cog in the lower right-hand corner. Make sure you've got the one with the red flash on it. While you're down there, you could always give the video a like, couldn't you? Because that helps push it out to other people who may benefit from it. And if you have never heard of me, I'm Elaine Giles, long-time Affinity user since the original version of Affinity Designer when it was in beta 11 years ago. That's scary. And I use all the Affinity apps every day since then. So what have we got today? We have creating your first layout. So what this isn't, it isn't for books. This is actually manual layouts that you will create. I'll give you some examples and then I will create one completely from scratch. So we will be creating a new file. I'll be showing you the baseline grids, guides, master pages. We will create master pages. We will add footers. We will add page numbers. Then we'll look at the text in text frames and artistic text. We will be handling images, wrapping the text around images, flowing text onto multiple pages, and then make sure to remind me to create a PDF of what we create. We will also be having a Q&A at the end. Now, I will take questions as we go if it's relevant, and I have my trusty assistant here to pass those questions on. But most of the time, it's better if we save the questions till the end and then have a massive Q&A. What I could do with you doing to help us is, if you can remember, put a Q at the beginning of a question and it'll make it a little bit easier to find and be able to do that. But having said that, we will get on with it. One last thing before we do, which is we love to read the chat. So please keep it friendly in there. I'm not affiliated with Canva or Affinity. I never have been. I have just been a customer of both, and that's it. So I'm here to give you the truth. If something doesn't work, I'll tell you it doesn't work. And to be honest, this morning something didn't work, but I fixed it. So we can get on. I have actually fixed that. Right, let's move to there and get on. So this is Affinity. Right, I'm going to show you the files, just a couple of files with some layouts in. So when I say layout, you can, of course, lay a book out in here, where all the pages just kind of look the same. But we're talking about a layout. And these are the examples that I've got. This file is actually the very first file I ever created in the beta version of Affinity Publisher back in 2018. So this layout includes a welcome. It's got graphics in it. It's using master pages. It has a table of contents. And then the other layouts that are in here are various layouts with promoting content. So this one was for Office. This one was for OneDrive. And obviously we've got images in there. It's using a master page. We have page numbers. There's a table in there. We even have initial caps on each paragraph. Probably a little bit too much. That one is an outline for a training course. And these are also outlines for training courses. But with this, I took it even further just to showcase the features. So this one is using tables, as is this one. This one's got text on a path as well. So it's showing a lot of features inside what used to be Affinity Publisher. including how to nest tables as well. So that's my first layout. So we'll be creating something similar to that. I just wanted to give you an idea of the kind of layouts that you can create. Now, the file that I'll actually be using, but we will leave that one open, is this one. So this one doesn't have as many pages, not as much content, but this is the one that we'll be creating the layout in. So we have a front cover, we have a table of contents with an updating table of contents. We then have 3 different sessions. So spoiler, this is next week's session, 3 o'clock next Sunday. So we will be deep diving data merge. So that is an overview of what's in that session, and it runs to 2 pages. So there's the second page. Then we have working with images, and again, there is a session overview and includes what is in that session over 2 pages. And then there is the final one, which is a church newsletter. So same principle, it's just 3 different courses or sessions, depending on how you want to look at it, including a back page. So what we have here, the back page is a single page. The front page is a single page. All of the rest are spreads. So there's 2 pages, but they're displaying side by side as a spread. So we will come back to this file, but I wanted to show you what you would need to do if you were setting this up completely from scratch. So first thing to think about, this Affinity by Canva app is different in terms of it's a single unified app. So you're not using Publisher anymore, you're not using Designer, you are using what's called a studio layout in here. So we have a studio. This one, Layout Studio, is the equivalent of Publisher. The Pixel Studio is the equivalent of Affinity Photo, and the Vector is the equivalent of Affinity Designer. Now, we have an extra one, which is Canva AI. That is a new one that has been added to this application. And you can customize all of these, and that's why I have a data merge one, because I was demonstrating data merge a couple of days ago. So I'm going to be doing all of this in the layout view, unless I need to edit a photo, in which case I'll switch to pixel view, or create some kind of vector element, in which case I'll switch to vector. I'm not doing data merge today, so that one won't get a look in. And I don't think we have any need for Canva AI. So what I'll show you is Command and N. This is how you would create a new file. Now I'm doing this because there are elements of layouts that need to be set up when you create the file. You also need obviously to know how to create the file. So in here, you have a range of page sizes and color spaces. So this one is page sizes and it's in RGB color. This is page sizes, they're the same sizes, but for CMYK. Now the big difference between the 2 of those is, if this is for digital distribution, then you'll probably be okay with RGB. If you're sending it for print, you should probably use CMYK. This isn't going to print, but maybe it will in the future. Luckily, you can change all of that when you've designed the file. But I'm going to leave it set to A4 RGB. Now then, on the right-hand side, we have all of this to choose from. Now, you may not even see this when you go into the File New dialog. Maybe yours looks like that. This is the home view. So this dialog, instead of it just being new and just choose something, it's got a lot of content in it. This is the home view. You have your recents view. You have access to a learning portal. You have templates. Now, initially yours will be blank. These have to be added manually. And you also have your favorites. So one that I use a lot is the Affinity branding. But you'll notice there's no more tabs. So if I need to get to creating a completely new file, rather than working with recents or basing something on a template, then I have these options at the top. This is where we are, which is home. You can choose to open a file, but that is an existing file on your system. If you need to create a new file, that's the button at the end for new. And that takes us back where we were initially. How that dialog opens very much depends on how you leave it. So I've just navigated you through it so you know where everything is. Right. over here. We're looking at the right-hand side. This is where your document settings are. And I think it's unfortunate it doesn't seem to remember that much. I set this up and then the next time I go in, it is only a preset in terms of the size. And what I mean by that is, in the older versions, if you're new, you won't miss it. But if you're coming to this from version 2, it used to remember that you wanted multiple pages, or you wanted margins, or you wanted a bleed, and now it doesn't seem to remember that at all. You can work around that by making a template, but we're just going to use this preset. The difference between a preset and a template is that a preset has no content, and a template can have content if you want it to. So, no content, but we're going to set up the entire file. So, millimeters, that's absolutely fine. An A4 page is 210 millimeters wide by 297 tall. The colour format, because we've selected a preset, is RGB. And then there's the rest of it. Now, starting with prefer embedded, it relates to your image placement. Now, this option was always available, so you can prefer to link your images or you can prefer to embed them. I prefer to embed them, but at some point you may get a message saying you're embedding a lot of information. Are you sure you don't want to link to it? I prefer to embed it so I have one self-contained file. If I link to images, if you link to images, and those images are deleted or moved, then you have a problem in your file. You'll have to go and find them and relink them. And that's why initially, particularly for something like this document, I would set them to embedded. But your mileage may vary. Now, a new option is, just as you can link images or embed them, you now have an option to link to text files. Now, you might think, why would I do that rather than not put the text in the file? Well, in some of my files, I have a profile of me at the end. And that profile's recently changed. And I've got to go through files and update that profile. Whereas if I linked to it, it would update automatically. Now, obviously, that is not without issue. If there's more text in the file, that could be a problem. But you can now do that. I'm going to embed the images and I'm going to embed my text, but you could link if you wanted. You've then got an option to preserve text styles, which you may not even know about text styles at this point. I will talk about that shortly. The most important thing in here is to have a few pages. So I would slide across the multi-pages, and that opens up an extra range of options, including whether you have facing pages. Now, facing pages are what gives you these options over here for a spread. So I definitely do want facing pages. If I was creating a PDF for consumption on devices, I would probably not have facing pages because somebody would have to zoom in and out. But for a layout, I definitely am going to need facing pages. Then you can choose how they are arranged. So you can have them arranged horizontally, as mine are now, or you can have them arranged vertically. Now, that might seem a bit strange, but if, for example, you were making a calendar with a spiral bound element in it, then that would make more sense. But I'm going to leave mine set to horizontal. And do you want to start on the right-hand side or the left-hand side? Now, if you look at what I've already got in my Affinity file, I'm starting on the right-hand side. So the front is a front cover, and it is on the right-hand side. So I'm starting on the right. Then you have the option to specify the number of pages. So I'll create 8 pages in this one. You then have an option to create a default master, and what it's talking about is a master page. So a master page contains repeating elements. You could do that, or you could do it later. So we'll say yes, we'll have a default master. Then there's the margins. I can't understand in here why the margins is turned off automatically, but it is. So I will turn the margins on, and that opens up extra elements in here. This lock that you see, this little chain thing, is there. That's interesting. It's just totally disappeared. Back you come. Right, that's there to indicate if you change one of these, it will change all of them. So if you wanted 10 millimeters all the way around, that's a really fast way of doing it. If you want 15 at the bottom and you put 15 in, it will change them all. So what you'd need to do is to click the chain to unlink it and then put 15 in. As it happens in this, I do want 10, but that is what you need to do with it. That's why it's there. The final option in here that I'm concerned with is the bleed. Now, as I've said, if this is for digital distribution, then you probably don't need a bleed. But if you want to give yourself the option down the line of sending it for print without having to make too many changes, you could optionally add a bleed. Now, a bleed is an extra element all the way round your page into which you bleed, hence the name, the content. And the reason that you do that if you're sending it for print is if when it comes to guillotining the pages, it's a fraction off, you would notice you would have a gap. So by taking your content and putting it into the bleed, even if the guillotining is slightly off, you won't notice it. The average for a bleed, the standard, is 3 millimeters all the way round. So I will put that on here. That is everything that I can specify in this dialog box. There are other elements I need, but that's everything in this dialog box. So I'll click Create. Right, we now have the 8 pages. They are A4. The blue line that you see is representing your margin. This purplish line, let's zoom in, this purplish line is showing you your bleed. So that's what you have there. I'm using Command and 0. That would be Control and 0 on Windows to zoom out to see the entire page. Now, some of the other elements that you would need to create at this point, or settings you would need to change. In here, one of the most important is the baseline grid. Now, people seem to get very confused with baseline grid. All you're doing when you specify a baseline grid is saying line everything up. And that way, you might not notice, but somebody that's reading your material will notice that it's not quite lined up. And that's what a baseline grid is for. So you will find that, let me find it in here, baseline. So this is your options in here. I'm using the help file to find it. But if you look there and you see baseline grid, it shows you this dialog box. And by default, it's turned off. Now, there are good reasons that it's turned off. If you had never heard of a baseline grid and you're not concerned about it, then ignore it. Most people, most designers with any experience will be using a baseline grid. But if it was turned on by default, your text would be jumping all over the place and you wouldn't know why. That's why it's turned off. But if you turn that baseline grid on, nothing seems to change, but it has done. You just don't see the baseline grid unless you put a tick in the show box. And what you now see behind you is the baseline grid. Everything will be aligned to that baseline grid. You can make exceptions, and you may want to make exceptions for things like page numbers that you want to put in a certain place. But the rest of the content now, by default, will align to that baseline grid. And I wouldn't particularly want to see it, and just close. And your baseline grid is now there. It's configured, it's set, it will be used, but you're just not overwhelmed with it. That is as far as you need to take that in a blank file. If I were to now start doing layouts, the session would probably be 5 hours long. And who wants that? Someone's going to say yes now, aren't they? No, you don't. You don't. So that is that taken as far as I'm going to take it in terms of it being blank. That is exactly how I started this file, which is my Affinity with Elaine. Not by Canva, with Elaine. Right, I had 8 pages. I added some extra ones. So I'm now up to 16 pages. And I put in elements. So I'll take you through what's in this file and then we'll add a completely new layout to it, which will also show you that you don't have to start from scratch every single time. You could have a file that you want to edit, by adding additional content in, and that's what I'll do with this. But we have a front cover. We then have a layout which has the table of contents in it, including the 3 layouts that I've got. I have 3 sessions in here. So the first one is next week's, the deep dive data merge in Affinity by Canva. And we have columns in there. We have a title. We have the content. It's styled. It's not looking too bad, is it? Then I have another layout that's the continuation of that layout. The other layouts I have in here are identical in terms of layout, but with different content. So again, we have the heading for the session. We have the text for the session. We have the graphic for the session. You will notice in here at the moment, though, there's no page numbers. There's no niceties coming through from anywhere else. And then at the back, I've got the back cover, which is a single page on its own. This one is on the left-hand side. And that is what I have at the moment. Right, I saw one question, which would be a good point to mention it, which was, if you embed the images, does it impact the file size? Yes, it does. And that's why you may see a warning as we start working through this, that it will say, are you sure you want to embed this? The file size is getting big. I've never had a problem in terms of it getting to a file size where it can't cope. And you are able to switch between linking to images and embedding them. We have a resource manager that would enable you to do that. But yes, if you embed images like I have here, then they will increase the file size. Do we have any other questions that would be relevant to answer right now? Okay, we'll leave those till later. Don't forget, please keep putting the Q at the beginning, make it a little bit easier to collate them for later. Okay, the other thing we have in here, these are all content pages. We have in our pages panel 2 different types of pages, master pages and pages. Now, to differentiate those, I will say content pages. And what we're looking at here, these are content pages. Now, if we go into the master pages, we do have a master page. And that master page is called Master A. That's the default. If I go into it, you can see what it looks like. All it's actually got on it are these columns. That is it. Now, what I will do, so we can do a comparison, I will create another master page for the layout that we are creating. I could use this one as a starting point, but I might as well create a new one, and then you've got the entire process. Right, so inside the master pages, there is an option to create new masters. So I will add a new master. Now in here, you've got the option to give it a name. So it would make sense in here if this was called Affinity session, because this is what's going to contain each Affinity session that I add to this file. You've then got the option to tag it, by which it means give it a colour. So there's no other colour we could have it other than green, is there, for Affinity? Then you specify the layout. So do you want it to be a spread? Do you want it to be a page? What size do you want it? Now it's getting all of this information from the settings that you used when you created the file. And these are identical to the file you saw me create, including here the margins, the 10mm margins, that's in there as well. So as a starting point, that is adequate. I've given it a name, I've given it a colour. You don't have to give it a colour. I will show you where that comes in. But other than that, I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to have another master. The green dot is shown in the top left corner. That's where that comes from. And we can now fold that up, go over here. It's not applied to any of these pages. Now, there is a master applied to these pages, but it was Master A. So if I go into Master A and we look at the properties for that, we could give this a colour and see where that appears. So I'll just make it red so it's very different. We've got the dot in the top left-hand corner on the master page, but on our content pages, we now have stripes showing us what is applied. So if we were to apply the other one, we'd have a green stripe. So it's a way to indicate to you what master pages you actually have applied. Now, for the moment, I don't think we need stripes all over the place. It'll get confusing. So we'll take that off there and they will disappear. But that's where you would find them. So back to the one we've just created. The master page is where you put repeating elements. So what sort of elements do I want that are repeating here? Well, one of the things that I do is make sure that I've got my columns. So in here I have my guides, and this is where I create my columns. So at the moment there's one column and there's one row, and there is a gutter default of 8.5. Now I want to work with 3 columns here. You've already seen that if we look at this. Although the text is only in 2 columns, we actually have 3 columns showing. So back to our master. The best place to do that is on the master, otherwise you have to do it multiple times on the individual content pages. So in here I'm going to set that to 3. There is a slider, you can have lots if you want, but I'm going to set it to 3. The gutter is 8.5. I actually want it to be 6, so I'll change that. And you can also specify margins in here. Now you may think, well, we've already done that. We did it at the document level. But if you need some spreads or pages that have a different margin, you can set that on a master page, and that will ripple through when you apply the master page to the content page. That will do for the moment. We now have our 3 columns that we're working with. So I've set that globally on there. You could take this further in terms of guides to help you laying things out, but that is like the minimum that I'm going to specify. Now, what I will do here is start to put some content in it. So I would like on the left-hand side, if we remember our Microsoft one, the left-hand page always had like a full colour on it. Different colours, but a full colour. So what I would like in here, no, not that one, this one, is that on the left-hand page, there it's green. So I will go and get that and I will draw it out. So it's a rectangle tool and I've added that to the bleed. So the actual page would have that there. That is the edge of the page. But I have a bleed, so I'm going to take it into the bleed in case I do decide to send it for print. Now, I then have some palettes, and one of the palettes is the Affinity branding palette. There's all the old ones, and the new ones are at the top. So we'll have the Affinity green. I know you either love it or loathe it, and I'm not exactly a fan myself, but it'll do. So we have that on the left-hand side. It's on our master page. You'll notice it does not ripple through anywhere else because this is a new master page that is not applied anywhere. So we've got our first element. Our next element is, I think I had a flash at the top. So another shape. And what I did was I put it sort of across there like that, which is, it's green at the moment and I don't want it green. I want it white so I can see it. Then I want to add some text to it that will say what it is. So I could say, Affinity sessions. So I'll just do that and put in there Affinity. Now, obviously it's far too big. Let's scoot that down so it fits in that white box like that. Allocate it over there. Now that one has come through and I want that to be brown. So with it selected, I'm just going to click the brown. We look at that now, it might look like black, but it's not, it's brown. So we have that element at the top as well. Right, the most important thing you'll probably put on here is the page numbers. Now before I put the page numbers on, I'm going to put a sidebar on the right-hand side. So again, I'm using a rectangle and I'm drawing it out from the bleed. At the minute that is white, and it's far too wide. I want it 8mm and put it in position, and I want it green so it matches the other side. Right, so layout wise, we're not doing too bad there, but we do need the page numbers. So let's move down to where we would put the page numbers. You need to have a placeholder for the page numbers. So you have two different types of text here. The one I just used was artistic text. But if you're placing text, then there is a text frame as well. We'll look at this when we put the page content on. But I'm drawing this out, and it's given me a place to put my page number, which I can do by starting to type page, and then obviously I'd put a page number in. Now, before we go any further, what are these lines? Where do they come from? I've been creating this, and I have used, the last time I used my text frame, it had 2 columns. You can see that in the pages. And that's what this is doing. We look at our context-sensitive toolbar, it's saying 2 columns. Well, we don't need 2 columns for the page number, so I can take that down to 1. This is also not really a great font, with it being bold, for a page number. I do have text styles. So I have a range of text styles. By default, you will have text styles as well. Mine are probably slightly different than yours, but you will find in there that you do have a footer style. So if I apply that, that's not applying it, is it? Right, let's do a left one. There we go. It makes it much smaller and it jumps up a little. So I will move it down fractionally. Move that down. Now you see that jumping? Why is it jumping? It's jumping because we have a baseline grid. So this element is something you may want to take away from the baseline grid. As it happens, that looks all right, but you could disapply the baseline grid from it. But of more significance is, how do we get a page number in there? Because you do not want to type them. Right, you need to go to text, and then you have in here your fields and your insert. So insert, filler text, fields, symbols, maths, all kinds of stuff. Well, a page number is a field, and it's the most important one, so it's at the top. When you do that, because you are on a master pages are not part of the page numbering sequence of a document. So it gives you a hash. But when you apply the master page to your content pages, they will automatically update. So far, so good. We've got our page number over there. What we don't have is a page number on the other side. Now, we could do exactly what we've done and repeat it. But why do that? Well, because an alternative is to select the frame and copy it and paste it. When I move it, I can now move it over here. Now, obviously, it's not aligned properly. So first thing we need to do is get it aligning with the right-hand edge, but this is now in mid-air. But if you look at my styles, instead of just having one footer style, I have centered, I have left, and I have right. And this one, I would want to be aligned to the right. So now we have page numbers on there as well. Do we need anything else? No, I think we are good. We are good. So that's all the content that is repeating. I would like this to be the content that shows on all of these pages. And that is why I have created a master page. But obviously the master page is not applying at the moment. No, but it will be. So the next thing we need to do, we can actually close the master pages up at that point. The next thing we need to do is, because we already have a document, how do we add elements to this in terms of content? Now, obviously, we could go to a page and put some text in. We could put a graphic in. But we actually want to insert a whole section of the document. So I would like this to be, it's a general introduction to the new Affinity app. I would like it to sit between the contents page and the first session. It needs to sit between them. It doesn't make sense, given the content, which is, it's an introduction to the app, to have it anywhere else. But I have seen people who have a layout like this and think, well, the only place I can add content is at the end. No, it's not. Right, you just need to be careful. So I've selected where I would like the pages to appear before this. And I now need to insert some pages. To do that, on my pages, not to be confused with my master pages, because I've got lots of buttons up here, this one is on the pages and it's add pages. When you click that, you get this dialog box. I'll put it here so we can see it. The first thing it wants is specify a master page. Well, it's not master A, that's the blank one. But we did have in here our Affinity session, so let's choose that. How many pages would you like to add? Well, it's a section of the whole document, and it needs to be at least 2 pages in a spread. So 2's the default. Where do you want to insert it? Before something or after something? Well, I want to insert it before this page that we have selected, which is page 4. I do not want it before page 5, because what would happen if I did that is it would split it. So let me correct that and say page 4. I want it to appear before page 4. And click OK. And that looks pretty good. Right, what have we got? We've got the green stripe indicating that it has a master page applied and which one it is. The other one we took the red away, but that one we can see it. We can see we've got our Affinity text. We can see we've got the background. When I select the Affinity text, if we zoom in so you can see it a little bit better, we have crosses around it. That is indicating that it is not really editable in this view. It's not content on this page. It's coming from somewhere else. If you look at your layers, you can actually see where that's coming from. This is your master. You can see it's green. As I open it up, these are the elements on it. The background that we created, the rectangle behind the word Affinity, the sidebar, and then we've got our page numbers. And all of that is coming from the master. That's why it's got the green stripe over here on it. Right, let's zoom out there. So now we have somewhere that we can start putting our content. This is now a content page with a master page applied to it. Right, so let's get some content in there. Now, if you hadn't applied that, if we just said insert 2 pages and forgotten to apply a master, how do you apply a master? Well, let's try disapplying the master first, clear the master. And now it's 2 blank pages. There's 2 decent ways that you can do this. You can right click and say apply master and then choose from a list. So there's our Affinity master and apply it. I'm just going to disapply it again. The other option is, if you're doing this visually, go and look at the master pages, find the one you want and drag and drop it on to the spread. Be careful. If I hover over the right hand, you can see a blue border. If I hover over the left side, you can see a blue border. It's only going to apply half the master. Make sure you drop it in the middle if you want to apply it to both sides of the spread. Hence now the blue frame is around both pages. And that's the other way to apply it. So once it's applied, you can then start adding your content. Now for this, I already have some text. But to be able to add this text, I need somewhere to add it. And that is where you have 2 text tools. You have your frame text tool and your artistic text tool. The difference between the two, if you've got a lot of text, you're typesetting 3, 4, 5 pages, you're probably going to want to use a frame to put it in. The alternative to that is the artistic text. And when you draw out artistic text, it goes absolutely huge. So if I wanted to put this here and put Affinity by Canva, that is now not going to, it's not in relation to the formatting you would normally apply to text. What you're concerned with here is getting that to a reasonable size. And the reason that artistic text is useful, if I wanted that to be the full width, I'd just scale it. I'm not particularly interested in what size the actual text is. I want it to fill a gap. So you could do that for the title of it. I'm doing something different for the title. But the actual content, that's where you use your text frame tool. So I would like this text frame to spread across 2 of these columns. and I want to put my text in it. And I actually had this as 201 millimeters, and then just seat it at the bottom like that. So that's my frame that I'm going to put my text in. You could just start typing, but if you have your copy from somewhere else, which I do, so here's my copy. Let's get that full screen. It's literally just text. Now you'll notice in here there are things like I have a heading 1 and a heading 2. That is to indicate that that needs styling when it comes in. But it is just text. So let's copy all of that and close that. Right. Come over here and paste. It's tiny, isn't it? What on earth is going on? And it's right aligned. This is just something that Affinity does. It's the last style that you used. But I haven't added any content yet. No, but what we did do was add some page numbers. And the last one we added was this page 2, right aligned, on the right-hand side. So it has applied that to it. If I go in here and I just click, and I go to my text styles, you can see footer right primary. Well, that's not what I want, is it? So I'll Command and A, Control and A to select everything. And this really needs to be just my primary style, which is that, body primary. Now I need to look at it and you can see that, well, that's a heading 1. If it's a heading 1, it doesn't belong in here. It goes at the top of the page. So I'm cutting that and I'm just deleting it. So when I say it goes at the top of the page, like this, that's a heading 1. So what we want is something like that. So I'll go over to here and I will add a text frame. Again, it's going to go over the 2 columns and I will put the text that I have just cut in there. Obviously, that is not a heading 1. No, but my headings are in my text styles. So I have my headings. There's my heading 1. Let's apply that. But that isn't even big enough either, is it? I must have edited it. What size did I make it? Where are we here? What size are you? 36. But it is a heading 1. Right, so what I can do, because I've edited it to make it work, this would then need updating. You see, I've made a change to it. How do I know I've made a change to it? Well, that's indicated. This gets so tiny, doesn't it? Primary plus. There's a plus next to it. I will draw around it so you can see it. That is indicating you have made changes and not saved those changes back to the style. So if I right click and say update heading 1, nothing changes on here. If I go back into here, you can now see that this is sorted out much better. It's not breaking too well, but it'll do. So now that's our heading 1. Now, the next thing to do is to go into the text and start formatting that. So let's have a look at it. Well, this is going to be a heading 2. Now, if you're coming to Affinity from InDesign, you are so lucky that you've got InCopy. And we don't have in the Affinity world anything similar to it. So InCopy allows you to edit the copy that you're placing in your file without owning a copy of InDesign. So if you have your writers, they could use InCopy. I believe it's £5 a month just for InCopy. And that way, your layout designers, which is what I'm doing now, don't have to fiddle around in here and do it manually. I would love it if they added that, but we don't have it yet. So in my text, I've just marked up that that's a heading 2. So this needs to be a heading 2. I will apply a heading 2 to it. As I go through this, you can see there's another heading 2. So I'm deleting the H2. And you're probably thinking, good grief, is there another way to do this that's faster? Yes, there is. I've demonstrated that handling Markdown, but it's a little bit beyond what we're doing today. But yes, this could be speeded up somewhat before you lose the will to live. So, not bad so far, but you'll notice the other content was in 2 columns. So what I'm going to do is change my column count up here to 2, and that will automatically split it over here. Now, at this point, something you need to be aware of when you're laying out content is, let's zoom in here. What are these 2 little things? Sometimes it's easy to ignore these, but it's important that you don't. So with that selected, the eyeball is telling you that there is unplaced content. So you can't see it. That's what the eyeball's for. We zoom in just to about there and I click the eyeball, you can see there's more content. And it even takes it down into this area, the artboard area, but you can't see it because it's quite dark. But I know a lot of you are waiting for a light interface. If the light interface was there, you'd be able to see it. So that's what the eyeball does. It turns on and off the overflow. Of more significance is this, which is the triangle. What you would need to do is to place another text box somewhere and then link it to this one to get the content. We will do that, but we'll do it shortly, not right now. But you need to be aware, whenever you're working in here, if you see that red eyeball and you see the triangle, you've got unplaced content. You have text overflowing that cannot be read anywhere. It's not visualized anywhere. So just be aware of that. The next thing I'm going to do, though, is place some images. Now, over here, I have two tools. There is this picture frame rectangle tool, and there is a picture frame ellipse tool. This one, I'm going to place an icon in it. So I'm going to use the rectangle, but I want it to be square. So I'll hold the Shift key down, that's the same on Mac and Windows, and start to draw, and that will keep it square. If I let go of that Shift key, now it is a rectangle, and it's stretching across. But hold the Shift key down, and I think we'll have it about 40-ish. We make it 40 bang on. Oh, you want to jump, don't you? There we go. Right, so that is now my placeholder. One thing I see people say a lot is, I drew a placeholder and it's not there. Disappeared. Right, well, you can still see it there, but now it's gone. That is because I have toggled on and off preview. Control W lets me see all of the elements of my design while I'm designing it. But if I want to know what that looks like when it's output, Control and W and it will show me. But the problem is, if you've done that and forgotten to turn it back on, then you're going to lose your picture frame here. If you don't have the element to put in that picture frame yet, and you don't want to lose it, there's nothing to stop you putting a colour in it that will be ignored later. So let's choose one of the older colours from Affinity Photo. Now when I do that, the colour remains and you don't lose where your graphic is, even if you're still waiting for the graphic. And what I want to do with that is put it somewhere down here, probably around there. Turn on that again so I can start working with it. Now, when I add an element to this, the pink will disappear. We don't need to worry about the pink at all. So I need to put an element in there. Now, if the graphic that you're working with is just a file from somewhere, so I have some images in a folder here, just some images. So what have we got? That'll do. Right, I can drag and drop that onto that frame, and here's the message. Oh, this file's huge. Are you sure you want to embed it? Now, this is where you would have the choice, even though you've said, yes, I want to embed my images, it's still cross-questioning you. Right? This is where you would get the opportunity to change your mind. I'm not going to change my mind. Do I want to link to it? No, I don't. Just put the image in. And that puts the image in this frame. I can then move that image around inside the frame. I can zoom in and zoom out. And I can change the size of it. So I'm changing the size of the frame there. There should be one over there. So I can do that if I want. And make this bigger. So I can do all of that. Now I'm going to undo that to get it back to this point. Because there's certain elements that I use a lot. And for those elements, I just want to have them available in here without me having to go and surf my file system to go and find them. That is called Assets. And this is what the Assets panel looks like. And in here, these are my personal branding assets. I've also got assets for my podcast. I've got assets for demonstrations I'm in the middle of. So this one's personal branding. It's the Affinity icon. Now, this Affinity icon is no different than anything else. It's just a graphic. But when I drag and drop it on from here and I hover over that, it doesn't add it to it. There's the picture behind it. Doesn't add it to it. Get that out of the way. What do I do with that then? Because it needs to be inside that picture frame. Well, in our layers here, there's my icon and there's my picture frame. So what I can do is drag the icon in the layers panel over the top, and you actually see the text highlighting, and it even gives you a preview. It's going to put it inside it. That is how you get the image inside the frame if you are not able to drag and drop it inside the frame. So you use the layers panel for that. Now, still got a problem with this. It's in an image frame, which is correct. We can do whatever we like with it in the image frame. We can manually add it. We can manually take it away. But let's zoom in and see the problem. The text is going behind it. There is no text wrapping to force the text to avoid that image. That is one of the problems that we've got there. Now, to do that, we used to have a button on the toolbar, which has vanished. They took that away, which I found really useful. That one was really useful. It's disappeared. So what you can do, I've been using a fast way of doing this, but if you're not sure in here where the wrap is, go to the help system and type wrap. What will then happen is it will filter all of the menus, and you can see in here that you have text wrap. Oh, right, it's on the text menu. And within there are your 4 options that you can manipulate. So now you know where it is. With it selected, let's go to text and text wrap. I don't want to edit the wrap outline. What I want to do is just see the settings so I can set them. Please put this back on the toolbar. Right. In here, initially, there's no wrap set. You can set it to jump, which means you'd have no text on either side. Set it to square, tight, just have the text on the inside, or just around the edge. So most of the time, I think you're going to want it set to tight-ish. But this is what jump would do. It pushes the text above and below. For this one, tight is absolutely fine. But it's a little bit too tight. If we zoom into that, this text is a little bit too close to that image. But what we have at the bottom is we can force a gap here. Initially, it's set to 1.1 all the way around. You can go in and change this. So if I wanted to change just on the right, I could do that. I think 3mm works all the way round. So we have this option here to link the edges. I go into that and I just put 3 in any one of them. It will link to all 4 of them and we are good to go. So that is how you force the text in there. I do just think there were 2 options that used to be in Affinity Publisher on the toolbar, and it was the right place for them. Text wrap was one and pinning was another, and now you've got to go find them, which is why I use a faster way to access the menus, because otherwise I'd be there all day. But that is the wrap and how the wrap works. So how are we doing? Not bad at all. Now, in terms of other images, you'll notice that I did have on these pages big posters. I haven't particularly got a big poster for this one. It's a generic one. But I will show you the other option you've got, which is there's a circle that I'm going to put an image in. So I'm going to place it about there will do. And I'm going to drag and drop from my file system. So did I shut the Finder? No, I didn't, did I? Right, which one of these looks the best? Which one works? Magazines? That's nice and colourful. Let's have that one. So I'm going to drag and drop that straight into there. This drives me insane. How many times do I have to tell it that I want these images embedded? Well, every time I put an image in. There's no way to stop it. So I'll just say no to that and add it. So now we've got an image over there. That image would look better if it had a stroke on it rather than just that image floating around. This one doesn't need it, but this one would benefit from it. If we look at the others, did I add one? Let's have a look. It doesn't look like I did, and I should have done. Right, so I'll make that like somewhere between 1/2 to 1. And the colour that I would want that is the dark brown. No, not as a fill. no as a border on it. Right, and that would mean, I'm doing this for a reason, but you can actually see it here. It lifts it off the page a little bit. There is a reason for that. And that is what I need to do here. So select your image, go to the stroke panel, add a stroke to it. I will make that 0.5. And then in the colours in here, it is already set to brown because it always remembers the last colour you applied, the last style you applied, and so forth. And now we have a border around it. So far, so good. Right, I'm spotting a question there that I'm going to stop and answer, unless you want to put a full answer in, Mike. This one is, I'm a Windows user. I wish there was a way to preview the images before placing them. So what you're talking about there is in the Finder, I'm pressing the space bar and I'm using something called Quick Look. But there is something in Windows, and I've, for the life of me, forgotten what it was called, but it's a power toy. Was it called Quick Look? Peek. Windows Peek. And it is a free power toy from Microsoft, so you can indeed do that. We'll put a link in the chat and the description later, but you can do that on Windows. With the spacebar, I believe, but it's customizable on Windows. It's free and it's called Windows Peek. Right, so that's how you do that. Now, we still have a problem at this point. In terms of, yes, the layout is starting to pull together nicely. The page numbers are there. Everything is great, apart from one thing, which is the important thing, which is the text. We've still got unplaced text. Now, we've got a couple of ways that we can solve that problem. Now, you know already, because I've done it, that I can insert a new spread. So on my page here, 4 to 5, there's nothing to stop me hitting the new option and saying 2 pages. I want them after page 5. And OK, now I've got a new page. It's even applied the master for me. I can then go and get a text frame and I can draw it out. It doesn't automatically flow into it, but that is where I want the text to appear. And to hook it up, I go back to where I've got the overflowing text. I click on the triangle and it goes blue. And what has happened is it's loaded that content into my cursor, if you're with me. And I then go over here, and as I hover over the receiving frame, what I'm saying is link these 2 frames and the text will go into it. Make that taller so we can fit all of the text in it. And you can do that. Now, that doesn't take too long, does it? But what if this article was an epic? When there's a new OS come out on Mac, you usually get, from a certain site, I can't remember the name, a 30,000 word epic. And it is a detailed overview of it. If you wanted to create that, if your job was to create a layout for that, how many times would you have to insert a new spread? Manually create a text file and manually link the 2. That way madness lies. So there's a faster way to do it. Which gives me an opportunity to show you, don't be concerned when you're in here in terms of you've done 10 steps and now you realise you need to change something and you think, oh, I can't do that because I've got it laid out. So if we look in here, we've got some more heading 2s. So before I do what I'm going to do, I'm going to format these as heading 2s. So we've got 3 of them. I'm deleting the actual text that says H2 and I'm formatting them. And you'll probably be horrified what I do next, which is you've formatted it. That's great. Now I realise that there's a better way to work and I want to show you what it is. So I've got that frame selected. I'm just going to delete it. Just totally delete it. Don't panic. It's not gone anywhere. But obviously the frame itself has gone, but the text has not. The text is still attached to this as an overflow. So I can do wild things like just delete a frame, and I can go in here and just delete 2 pages while I'm at it. Don't have to worry about it. Going back to my initial 2-page spread, in here, imagine that this is a 30,000 word epic and it's going to need 40 pages. If I hold the Shift key down when I click that triangle, it will take care of everything for me. Click, and it's done. So what it's done is, in fact, it's put it in the wrong place. Why have you put it in the wrong place? Okay, that's to do with sections, something I've done. So I'm going to put it back. It should appear after it, and it would appear after it if things were working properly. Right, let's get it there. So here is my first page. Here is my second, but what exactly has it done? It's given me all the frames and linked them that I need to put all of the text in there. Right, it's on the wrong side though, but that's fine. I'm going to delete that one. Notice that when I deleted that frame, it didn't delete the work I'd done, did it? My H2s are still there. Put this in the right place, and it's a continuation page, so stretch it up. And that is much faster. Now, it hasn't applied the master page, which it should have done and would have done. Don't know why it didn't, but never mind. I'm going to apply that over there, and we now have a great continuation page. There we go. And we've got our layout. In fact, we've got two spreads, but it's one group of content, if you're with me. Right, so we've done all of that. Now, next thing to think about is the rest of this. So in here, I've got these pages, and I actually have here, this is the one I put the frame on. I don't think I put that on the other one. So what I'm going to do is show you all of these images could do with having that frame on them. Right, so in here I've selected the one that's formatted correctly. And you have a thing in here called styles. No idea where they put it at the moment. Let's find it. Let's go get styles. Styles, Windows Vector Styles. Are you? Let's have a look. You are. Excellent. Right, do not get this styles mixed up with text styles. Most people just say styles when they mean text styles. I do it myself. But this one I would call object styles. What this will enable you to do, I will give you just an example on something like that, is you can click to apply these styles. They are sample styles. There's only the default ones in there, but you can create your own. So up here, I have a style which has a border on it. So what I can do in here is with something selected, I can say add style from selection. And that adds this at the bottom. So if I select that and click it, we should have a border on it. I don't know why it's got a fill on it like that, which I don't want. But we have got the border on it. So let's see if that will work. And what I don't want it to do is wipe out the content. There we go. It's not wiping out the content. What it is doing is applying the border. Or it should be applying the border. Apply it. Away you go. It's not doing it. It's not playing ball for me today. It really isn't. Mind you, you should have seen what it did with the table of contents earlier today. Never mind that. Okay, I have created that. It should be working. It's not working. I'll worry about it later. But these pages are great. I would probably put another image on there. And the fastest way to do that would be to go and select that one and move across here to the page. Oh, it's taking its time to copy it. Right, paste that in, move it down somewhere, change the size a bit so it fits in there. Go and get another image from my Finder, that one's not bad at all, and drag and drop it. And in here, when I click it, I've got this option that I can move this about. So if I wanted it to focus on a different part of the image, as well as moving the image, I can scale the image, but I can actually use this in the middle to place that, like that. Right, now, I've got two masters in here. I think this one looks fine without anything else on it, although I might want to put some page numbers on. But these could do with having a different master applied. So, the best way to do that, given how many of them there are, is to click the first spread, and that gives me a grey border all the way around it. If I then hold the Shift key down, and I select that last one, it is not playing ball yet again. There we go. So I've held the Shift key down. It has selected all of these spreads. Apart from that one, what are you doing? There we go. I've done that one now as well. So I've got all the pages in all the spreads. Now I could drag and drop, but it's probably easier when you've got multiple ones selected like these to choose the Apply Master. At the moment it's got Master A applied. I'm going to apply our Affinity Session Master. Now you can nest masters, that is beyond this session, but what I'm doing is replacing the master content. And OK. That's why I wanted a border around it, so we could see the image. Without the border, it starts to merge in. So it would be better if I could put the stroke on there, which was 0.5 point, and it was brown. You get the idea. And it has applied that to all of them, which has had the knock-on effect. Not only do we have Affinity at the top, not only do we have the green background, more importantly, if we look at all of our pages, they now have page numbers on. And we've got a full layout there. So let me get rid of those styles. We're not using those at the moment. We go back over here. Have I covered everything? I do believe I have. So we have our final thing. Now, the one thing that I didn't put on my list, but I have reminded myself, is creating output from this. Now, this at the moment doesn't have anything in it that couldn't be printed to paper. But I would probably want in here a profile or something at the end. So let me show you. If I go to File and New, and I go back to my home in here, and I have something I'm working on, and there is my profile. So if I were to take this content, let's take that. That's something I would probably want in my Affinity with Elaine file. And I would probably add another spread to contain it. So let's do that. Let's say we want 2 pages after page 19. That's exactly what I want. And in here, I need somewhere to put it. So let's add myself a text frame. No idea how much space it will take up. So let's do that. I don't want that to be in 2 columns. And let's paste that in. Would it fit if it was in? If it was taking up half the space? It would. There we go. Oh, hang on. It needs to be in there. Perfect. So I've got my content on that page at the end. Now, the reason that I've done that is this formatted correctly? Who knows? It's probably added some extra styles to it, which is very annoying, but it looks okay. The colour's right, everything's fine. The reason that I've done it is because these down here are clickable links. How they are created is you would select it and you would add a link to it. Now in here, if I select that, I should in there be able, have a look, can I do that? Edit the hyperlink to show you that that is going out to my YouTube channel. So it's a URL, a hyperlink of a URL type, and I want the character style, which is determining what it looks like in here, to use the hyperlink style. Now, reason that I've done that is, guess what? That does not print out well. It doesn't work even if you print it to special paper. So when it comes to producing your content, even to PDF, you need to be thinking, is it going to print? If it is, do you really want that underlined? But we're creating a digital file. And for our digital file, it would be nice if those links were clickable. So when we come to produce the PDF, you have a few ways to export in here. You have the original way of exporting from File and Export. So it's now Export, like that. Now, it will give you a pre-flight and it will tell you that you've got things going on in here. I've got non-proportional scaling. I've got a bleed hazard with something. Obviously, this is a demo. I'm not concerned with any of that. Right. So what I'll do is we'll do that again, which is File, Export. I'm going to ignore and continue and get to this point. So this export that we've got here is very similar to what we had before. It's just that the dialog box is different. Before we head any further, though, so let's go over here. We also have another way of exporting, which is the quick export. And PDF is an option for quick export. You switch to that and then you play around in here with what you want, and then you choose what you're doing. The annoying thing in here is do not get caught when you use this if that's what you're doing. Notice it defaults to selection only, which means you're not going to get the whole file. So what you need to do is choose a whole document from there and then export it. So that's your second option. There is a third option when it comes to creating PDFs, but it isn't really relevant or as relevant when it's a layout, because it's a fully fledged PDF you're trying to create rather than just part of your content. But before you get anything like that far, there's one thing you need to do, which the pre-flight should have warned me about. One or more table of contents entries needs updating. And this is something that this can actually fix on its own. I wonder which has got the overflowing text. It's saying page 7. Right, but this is something it can fix with you just clicking fix. But get used to the fact of how a table of contents works and how you can manually manage it. So way back up in the document, there is the table of contents. What is wrong with it? Well, if we look at this, we've got the original 3 sessions, but this one that I've added, not there. Not there at all. Right, how something gets into a table of contents is it is styled correctly, meaning that the table of contents is going to use a heading 1, a heading 2, and a heading 3. And that is how it's going to populate this. But this table of contents already existed, and I then added 4 pages, 2 extra spreads. If you click inside your table of contents, multiple things happen. You get a range of alternative styles in your styles dialog. The table of contents panel lights up like a Christmas tree. And the most important thing that you can do in there is at the top, you can update the table of contents that you have selected, or you can update them all if you have multiple tables of contents. And I have weirdness going on down here, so I need to do that. Oh, I really do have weirdness going on here. I think this is because some of it was copied and pasted. But let's do the refresh, and what we now get here is this. Now, the reason that we have a problem, so I might as well show you how to fix this problem, because you could well have the same problem, is in here we now have Affinity by Canva, what you need to know. That is this at the top. In the contents, there's 1 heading 2. But in my table of contents, and sequentially, the heading 1 is before the heading 2. But in my table of contents, it's not. My heading 2 is before my heading 1. What's going on? How to fix it? That's happening because of the order of elements in here. So you'll see we've got the picture frame, and then we've got 2 picture frames here. But this that we've got is in here, our heading. And this is the actual body of it. That should be working. But we'll put that at the top. We'll put that underneath it. And we'll refresh this and hope it works. And if it doesn't, we'll switch them around the other way because it's obviously having a moment today. So let's put that under there and try it again. Please work. You're not making me look an idiot, you're making yourself look an idiot. There we go. So, thing to take away from that is if you have strange goings on in your table of contents, that you've got heading 2s before 1s or 3s before 2s or 1s, make sure in your layers panel that they are in the correct order for the Affinity app. Otherwise, you will have weirdness happening in your table of contents. But that is how I manually update that table of contents. Now it has 4 elements in it. If we compare that with our document, we have this first one that is all about the Affinity app. We then have these 2, and the final 2. And it's looking like to me that is the one. Are you page 7? We have overflowing text. So I will grab that and just put it on there so we can see. Good grief, how much text in here. Far too much. I don't think I'm going to be able to get rid of that, am I? Never mind. That was working perfectly before. I have no idea why it's not now. But we're ready with our PDF. But the final thing to do before you create your PDF is to update that table of contents. Now, when it comes to exporting to a PDF, I don't think I'd use the quick export because it's too fiddly and it doesn't give me as many options as file export does. And the shortcut key on the Mac for file export is Shift, Command, Option and W. Didn't used to be, it is now. Right, so in here you have a whole range of export options. Images, TIFFs, all kinds of stuff. PDF is what we're concentrating on. The PDF section is the bit with the red stripe down the left-hand side. And you get to choose which format of PDF, not all PDFs are equal, that you want to create. So some of these will be required for print. Your printer, your print service should tell you what format they want. But for us, it's digital. It's not going to a printer. So we have for print, press ready, digital. Now, a lot of people think, press ready, that's going to be the best quality. The problem with anything other than digital small size or digital high quality when you're making a digital PDF is if you choose any of the others, your hyperlinks will not be clickable. So if we choose high quality, we can look through here then and see what we get. You can choose the area that you're going to print, a page range. You can preview the export when it's complete. You've then got your options here in terms of if there's some property that you've put in there and it's not supported, it will rasterize it, which means turns it into pixels. You also get all of these options, so just whiz through those options. What are you doing? Right, if you are in the wrong place when you start scrolling, because I've got a scrolling mouse, you're changing things, so make sure you're on the left-hand side of that. I'm going down to here to show you the important ones, which is include hyperlinks. There it is. If that is off, then you will not get any clickable hyperlinks. It is turned on in digital high quality. It's turned on in digital small size. Go to press ready, it's turned off because they wouldn't work anyway. So if you are producing a digital PDF for digital distribution and your hyperlinks aren't clickable, that's why. So I'm going to choose high quality. I can then leave this alone and export it. So it's going to ask for a place to export it. I'm going to put it in here. Affinity with Elaine. And I've got my PDF. Oh, an error occurred. Fabulous. Fabulous. Why does that never happen in rehearsals? Oh, really? Let's try again. But you know, this is real. You know, it's live. Right, what are you doing? There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You're just being awkward. Don't make me do it again. No, it doesn't like it. Okay. No idea what the error is, but you know what we'll do? We'll produce this one to PDF because we can. Or we hope we can. Maybe this one's got an error as well. It's only been out 2 weeks. What can I say? What can I say? Right, let's try Microsoft Summit. This has existed as a PDF. If this fails, then it's Affinity. Now, notice this one's taking a lot longer. There's a lot more pages in it. But maybe it'll get there in the end. Maybe it'll be in our lifetime. Thinking about it. Go on, don't fail on me. Do not fail on me. Getting there. Oh, fingers crossed. Right, that one worked. So, let's go and get it. It hasn't created that. This is my file. So there's the one I've just created, but this one didn't generate a PDF. Right, there is the PDF for that one. So let's get that full screen. You can see that the page that was only on the right is on its own. The spreads are left and right. And as we go down here, these are all the spreads. And if there are any hyperlinks in there, which I think there are somewhere, you will see those as well. So let's do that so we can see it. And there is your PDF. I will work out why the other one isn't working. But like I say, this one was created in the beta version. It's amazing, isn't it? The beta version from 2018 worked better than the one we've got now. That's all I'll say. But that one was created in here yesterday. So I'll just have to work out what the problem is. And I'll put it in the description when we've finished. But that's it. We've got our PDF. We have created the whole thing. So I'll save it, ready to work out what's wrong with it later. And we'll do some questions and stuff like that. So let's get into here. One of the things that you may have seen me do today, I mentioned in the previous session, which is I call it menu surfing. All of the menus, and there's 638 of them, have moved around. And I didn't have chance to learn them all. But that's fine. I use an application called Raycast, which is free. It's available right now for the Mac. It's coming soon for Windows. It's in beta. And what it enables me to do is filter by menu item title. So I open Raycast, I type filter by menu item title, and it lists, as you can see there, 635. There are more than that, but 635 at that point. And that was how I was doing it. That has been this session, which the whole point of which was creating your first layout. If you have enjoyed that, there is a like button down there. Please hit the like button. It matters to me, but I think it matters more to YouTube, to be honest. There is also the option to subscribe. Now, the one thing that does greatly help the channel, and if it helps the channel, that means there's more content from me, is if you put a comment. But if you're with us live, you can't actually physically put a comment at the moment. I'm not even joking. You can't do it. You have to come back after the stream has finished to do that. Yes, the comments you've made in the chat as we go are really helpful as well, but that's where you ask your questions and stuff. But comments later, the chat is there, but it's difficult to access. So if you could go back later and just say whether you enjoyed it or if you didn't enjoy it, or if you want the PDF to work, so do I. That would be great. So if you can leave a comment, that would be fantastic. There is a hype option, but I believe the hype option is only available on mobile. I've never actually seen it, but if you're watching on mobile and you've got a hype option, that would help as well. Now, I did give a bit of a spoiler, didn't I? We're back next week. This has actually been my #1 request, and it's crazy. People have said to me, I'm new to this, and I want to do a data merge. And I'm like, do you know what a text frame is? Apparently not. So I'm not surprised people are struggling with it. So next week, 3 o'clock, Sunday, deep dive data merge. It is a session I've done before with the old version. So obviously it's just going to use the new version. Right, I've enjoyed the session. I hope you have too. Thank you very much for being with us. If you would like more content, then there is my newsletter where you will get first notification of any sessions. Now, we're going to try and do questions, but the first question I've got in relation to questions is, how many questions have we got, Mike? Do we have hundreds? He's counting them now. About 16. Okay, shall we take them verbally then? I may go in and do a demonstration to demonstrate it, but I'll turn Mike on, as it were, so he can read the questions out. Right, you're live, Mike.
Do you want that first one that was put in before we started?
Yep, we'll take that one first.
Okay, this is from MTM. I have a question. How to use running header? How to select similar test one click? How to select only number?
I've got no idea what the second part of that was, but the first part mentioned running headers, didn't it?
Yeah.
Right, we'll come back to the second part then. Okay, so I have a document. My document is using my master page in here. A running header is where, let's say at the top of it, in fact, let's actually do it. So let's go into here. Instead of having the word affinity, I will delete the word affinity. I will widen this and we'll put a running header in it. So I've got the background for it. What I now need is a placeholder to put the running header. So that's the placeholder for my running header. Right, in there, I need to actually put the field. So a running header is a field that you can insert. So we already know that you can go to text and you can go to insert and you can go to fields and you have a range of fields. one of them being the running header. So I'll put the running header in there. Not the best format for the running header, but it will do. So I'm just going to make it not bold, so hopefully it'll fit in. Right, that's it. You've created it. If we go into here, there's nothing there. That's not good, is it? A little bit of help might have helped. So let's go back and explain what the problem is. Right, a running header is referring to this section starts with Affinity by Canva, what you need to know. And then we come on to the next section, which is the deep dive data merge. You'll notice that says deep. We've actually managed to get deep in there. Don't know where the rest of it is, but there we go. Right, what you need to do is actually tell it at this point, there's your running header. In your fields panel, you have a running header option in here, which is for, in this case, it's documents section. In there, in your running header, you can choose what style of text contains the text you would like in your running header. So you can choose that. So if I go into there and I choose my heading, which was my heading 1 primary, what I'm doing is telling it to look for a heading 1 and utilise that in my running headings in here. So if I go into there, you can see the way this is configured. This one's blank because that field is before this text. But once you've got your heading in there, when you look at this, you will see the text that is styled with the heading 1 that you have told it you want to be a running header. And as you go through all of these documents here, so this one is referring to the previous one, as you go through them, they get updated. Now, it would work better if I did more editing, but you get the idea of it. It's taking text, which in this case is a heading, and it's applying it as a running header because you've told it what style to look for. But initially, if you do that, it probably will do nothing because you need to go into the ... and you need to give it a style, otherwise there'll be nothing there at all. So that was the first part of that. What was the second part of that?
How to select similar test one click.
I think that question means how do you select certain text or text that's formatted a certain way with one click? If that's what it means, it's all to do with the select options in here, which again they've moved. So we have the option to select same. Where are you? Oh, you're on the layers now. That's good to know. Right, on the layers, you've got select. In here, you have the option to select, and you're telling it to select what. So you would make a selection, and then you would choose an element that was the same. So what could we select here? Could we select that and do that? Right, so I've selected the word newsletter. All these have lit up now. What it would let me select is the fill colour, anything that's selected, well, anything that is filled with Affinity Brown. If it had a stroke, the stroke colour, both, what the weight of the stroke was. Now, the idea of doing this is if you have elements that are formatted, but they're formatted manually. Because most of the time you don't want things formatted manually. Like if you think about how you want text styles formatting, you want them formatted in such a way that if you change it in one place, it changes it all over. But this does come into its own because while text styles automatically update, object styles do not. So let's see if we could just apply a quick object style. So we'll get an object, another object, and we'll multiply the object. So we've got 3 things there. Let's say those 3 things, I put a stroke on, so enough so we can see it, like that, and I change the colour of that to hideous pink. Oh, this is bad. Right, so there's 3 of them. Right, so I move them around. They're not next to each other anymore. If I grab one of them, and I go to Layer, Select, Same, and I say Stroke Colour, it will select all 3. It wouldn't even matter if this was across 300 pages. It would select the lot. With them selected, I can then change that. So all I would then need to do is choose what I wanted that change to. Even if this was an object style, object styles do not automatically update. That would be the only way to do it. So I'm hoping that that's what the question meant. If you are still with us on MTM, do put it in the chat while we take the next question.
Next question is from Mike Barrett. Drawing scale on the new master page setup dialog. What is that for?
It's for when you're doing work like architectural work, because it does support architectural files. And that allows you to say for every inch, or let's say every centimetre that you work in your diagram, it actually represents 1 metre in the real world. So you're drawing something to scale. For most documents, you wouldn't use that. It's really for architectural stuff. Right.
Next one.
Yeah.
Ignacio says, how do you determine your gutter size?
The gutter size is really up to you. You want it to be wide enough that you've got a gap so people can read it easily, but you don't want it that wide that you're wasting space. So the choice is completely up to you. Maybe a client will tell you what they want it to be, but I would say big enough to be clear, but not that big that it looks odd in the design, but it's completely up to you. Things like the font size would impact it. The bigger the font, you don't want a tiny gap. But if the font is really, really small, then you don't want a big gap. So it really just depends what looks right to you, or based on a specification that you've been given for the design.
Okay, next one, Ignacio again. How would you remove the page numbers from the baseline grid?
Okay, in there, we'll go into our master. And the issue was that was jumping around. So as I make that bigger, it's jumping around, actually jumping. And that is because there is a baseline grid on it. Now, what I would need to do is access the text panel. So there is a text frame panel there. And in here, there is an option for baseline grid at the bottom, but the baseline grid is all over the place. So I'll fold these up so you can get a better idea. Don't dive into the baseline grid and start fiddling in there. This is where you specify a unique or independent baseline grid for this text box. That isn't actually what you want it to do. So if we go back to General, one of the options in here was ignore the baseline grid. So you're not specifying a custom baseline grid for this text frame. What you're doing is ignoring the global baseline grid. So as soon as I put a tick in that box and move that out of the way, when I move this now, it should be really smooth. It's not jumping. Anytime you see jumping text, the baseline grid is likely to be responsible. Page numbers are one place you would see the baseline grid in action like that. The other type of issue you would have is if you were making a table. So remember, in this original file, I had the pricing table in here. Let's get that out of the way so we can see it. This is the pricing table at the bottom. If the baseline grid was turned on, trying to get this lined up would be a nightmare. So again, you would be selecting the table and ignoring the baseline grid, because you want that to lay out in a table, which is an exception to the baseline grid. So page numbers, headers, running headers, tables, those are the kind of places you would ignore the baseline grid. And the option is in the text frame to ignore it. So let's move that. And what else have we got?
Okay, from Art. Are there object styles in Affinity like InDesign?
There are object styles, but unfortunately they are nothing like as powerful as in InDesign. So the big problem you've got with object styles is they do not automatically update. You have them, but they don't update. That is why they added the option to select same, which is a bit of an issue. 99% of the time it will work. But if you wanted to select something based on its border that you've applied, the stroke you've applied, in terms of the weight and the colour, and you happen inadvertently to have that applied to something else that you don't want to change, then you'd have to manually unselect that one. It's just unfortunate. I don't know. I mean, we've had this 7 years now, and they haven't fixed that. So will they ever fix it? I don't know. That's why we use select same. Okay, what else we got?
Okay, from Ignacio again, and I think you answered this one before. Is it possible to add multiple master pages to a spread or a page, or would you not recommend it?
Yes, you can. No problem at all. If you're going to do that, be careful and think it through. But yes, you can do it. So I can quickly show you what we got here that this would work. Let's do it on this one. Right, so I've got Master A on here. This is just a blank file at the moment. Let's just put onto Master A our green over there. And let's put on the right-hand side a page number. In fact, no, we won't put page number. We won't. I'll put the box for a page number. We'll cut it off. Right. So we've got that on the left-hand side. What I'll then do is duplicate that, and we'll have a different one over here. So we'll go for the layout colour. Right, so we've got 2 so far. I'll now make a third. And this one I will actually call page number. This is where I'm going to put the page number. So this is completely blank. I'm going to put, no, that's not what I want to do. Right, let's draw one out over here. And we'll put the page number in it. So I'm typing the word page. Then I'm going to text, insert field, page number. I'll put the page number next to it. One more thing to do, which is to right align it. So there's the page number. Now, let's say on here you can see they've all gone pinky, orangey, right, which is this one. If I wanted one to be green, then I could do that. I could drag and drop the green onto it. Neither of these have got the page number on the right-hand side. That one might look like it has, but that has no text in it. Right, is it on there? Lose it. Right. So these, none of them have any page numbers on them. So what you could do, making me out to be a liar, isn't it? Right, none of them have got any page numbers on. The page numbers is on the page numbers one. Right, so what you can do with this, there's a couple of ways of doing it. Again, just think it through really carefully or it'll get confusing. But what I want to do with this is I want all of these to have page numbers on. Right, one option that I've got is to add the page numbers to it without taking away what's there. So if I right click on it and I go to the spread properties, is it spread properties? No, it's not. Right, apply master. Right, master A is applied and there is a tick in replace existing. But if I took that away, so if I replace the existing, if I say, right, page numbers, and we come down here, you can see the green's gone, but the page number's there. But I wanted both. So in here, you could go to apply master, and you could choose master A, but take the tick out of replace existing, and it will add both. You've now got both. You can see that over here. You have master A and you have page number. That would get quite complicated quickly. It would. So what I would suggest instead, let's take all of these and nuke them. So clear masters from the lot. Right, let's say what we want is this page and this one. So the first 3, you're not selecting them for me. Right, the first 3, I want to have master A applied. So let's drag those down. Are you going to do that? You are being a menace today. A menace. Right, there's that one applied. We'll do it on this one. That's what we'll do. Right. So those 4 have master A applied. This one, I'm going to apply master B. And to that page as well. Right. Not that you're going to see what's going on this one. So we're concentrating on these 6 pages. None of them have page numbers. Now we know that I could select them. So grab the lot, right click, apply a master, take the tick out the box and apply the page numbers. But that's not really the best way to do it. A much better way is to use the master pages. So There's master page A, no page number. But I can take this master page with the page number and apply a master to a master, and it's now nested. So if we look at that, that now has a page number. Master B does not have a page number, unless I drag and drop that to it. Now master B has a page number. So now, when we look at the pages that have master A applied, it too has a page number. And that has a page number, and that has a page number. And if I were to go into the masters and add something else to the page number, so we'll be silly and we'll put, this contains the page number, it will update the lot. So I've added some text in. We will go to the first page. There it is. It's applying with master A, and master B. So any changes you make to the page numbers, maybe you want to reformat them, you do not then need to reapply and generally fiddle around. So yes, you can apply more than one master. You can create a whole string of masters, but think it through to the point I'd actually document it and diagram it myself. Otherwise, things will happen and you'll have forgotten what you did, and then you start tweaking to make one change and you break more than the thing you're trying to fix. But that is how you would do it. Right, what else have we got?
Simon Newt says, can you create, like InDesign, create an object style for text frame so all those types of text frames are the same size, but then edit that object style which would affect all those text frames?
No, because they don't automatically update.
Okay. Mike Brett says, why are your eyeball and triangle symbols quite so tiny, Elaine? You need an electron microscope.
That's just how they are. I haven't looked into whether you can make them any bigger or not.
That was Jamie's question. Next one. Okay. Played Mac says, does the output file reflect an image that was shrunk to fit, or is the original image file size carried through?
In the output file. So
yeah.
Does it crop it? I find the PDF output that you get is quite big. So I run it through an optimizer to make it smaller. I do not fiddle around in Affinity by Canva trying to make the PDF the right size by cropping stuff and changing DPI. I leave all of that to an application that I use to compress a PDF. And the kind of file size that I get is something reduced from, say, 26 to 28 meg reduced to a meg, which is enough for me, and the quality is the same. So I don't fiddle with it. It does make pretty big file sizes. A lot of people complain about that they've got a lot of work to do to try and make it smaller, which is why I just don't bother. Okay?
Okay. Mike Brett again says, you mentioned the program remembers the last colour, etc. you used. That often has me scratching my head. Is there an easy way to clear away all my last used values to clear the decks?
There is an option that you can use to clear your settings at the app level. I wouldn't do that. It will nuke other things that you don't want it to nuke. So I think I can show you that. Let's move that back there. Right, let's save all of these. Because I've got to close the file. So let's save all of these. Save. I'm not sure we need to save you or not. Made changes. Save it. Right. So I'm going to close the application totally. Now I'm going to open the application. So that's how I run Affinity. Trying to remember. Is it control? No, it's not control at that point. Look. Right. I held control down immediately after I pressed enter. And I get my clear user data dialog. So it's going to clear my user defaults. It's going to reset document and window states. It's going to reset panels. And these are all of the other things that you can do. But, you know, resetting brushes, adjustments, it might do too much. But that is an option you've got. It's holding the control key down when you run the application. and you can then choose what you want to nuke, I don't think it's actually worth it. I think it's just important to know that it does it and to work around it rather than going in here and constantly nuking stuff. But if you do need to nuke anything, that is how you would do it. Hold the control key down and then hit clear. Right, what else have we got?
Okay, next one, Karina. Sorry I wasn't here from the start, but did you address the issue of Affinity not having a span columns option for text paragraphs? For example, H2 paragraph across 2 columns. Did you find a workaround?
No, there isn't really a workaround for that. I know a lot of people talk about it. And in that circumstance, when you're saying it's a heading 2 and it would span 2 columns, there really isn't much in the way of an option. You would have to take the text of the H2 out of the flow of the text, put it in its own text box and put a wrap on it, and that would be messy. That would be really messy. There isn't really a decent option. I only tend to use that at the top of a page, so it's not too much of an issue for me. But I understand that it is an issue, and no, it's not something they've fixed yet.
Mike Brett says, I must have blinked and missed somehow how you got your posters, which were on every other left page, suddenly copied onto the pages in between as well. I presume they were the correct ones and not all the same.
About when was that? The posters were already there. So they were already there in that file. So all I did was apply a master to it, and the green appeared behind what was already there. So you could it be the right one? If I was creating a course catalogue for, let's say, all the videos that I've got on YouTube, I wouldn't be doing it by hand anyway. I'd data merge it. So those images were placed by hand, and then the green was applied behind it. So it may have looked as though the images came in, but the images were already actually there, manually placed.
Okay, the Artist Haven says, what would be the best way to bring in an Excel-like sheet into the layout? I'm making a formula book, aka cookbook, and everything is in a Google Sheet right now.
You can copy and paste from, you could make an Excel file from Google Sheets. You could probably copy and paste from Google Sheets, and it would make a table. When you say it's in a spreadsheet, that rings alarm bells to me in terms of, well, surely a data merge would be the way with that. If you had, for example, is this cookery, was that?
Yeah, it's cookbook. She makes candy and I'm jealous.
Oh, I think I'm going to have to get Mike onto that. If it's in a spreadsheet, if it's predictable data, I would say that's a data merge, and that would speed things up nicely. But other than that, if you want to make a manual table, you can copy and paste tables in. You can place an Excel file. Native tables are better, and native tables don't have to be like, just a table of data. If you think about what I had with this one, yes, I used a table for this pricing plan at the bottom there. That is a table with the borders taken off. So that actually looks like that. So there's no sides on it, but it is a proper table. But these are also tables. So this is a table. In fact, that's a double table. That's a double table. If you look at it, there's the word search. There is the actual word search itself, and that is the solution. And they are two tables just sat one on top of the other. They are purely for layout. Now, obviously, they've got content. Each cell has a letter in it. But you can do that. I just think if it's in a spreadsheet already, if it's predictable data, then potentially a data merge would actually be better. It's not predictable. Okay, you went all willy-nilly when putting it in. If you clean the data up a little bit, then it would actually be a benefit to be able to data merge it, because you could make you could use a selection of recipes for a standard book, and then one for Thanksgiving, one for Christmas from the same data. It might be worth doing it depending on the data. But yes, you can do it by itself. You can do it like that. I'm not a great believer in bringing the thing in from Excel and then trying to fix it, because to be honest, it's a lot of work. which is why data merge is also a lot of work if you've got to tidy the data up, don't get me wrong. But when you've tidied the data up, then you've tidied the data up forever. And you can then make multiple derivatives from it. So if I had to invest time doing something, I would much rather fix the data, and then that would give me a lot more flexibility down the line. That is what I would do with it.
Okay. Ignacio and Artist Haven would like a session on table of contents for the version 3.
Okay. And it's on my list.
It will be on the list in a minute.
It's on the list.
It's on your list. I'm going to put it on the list. Ozihara, if I pronounce that right. Do text styles have to be set on each project, or can you set up a global text style for use on all new projects you start?
And that is a really good question. Okay, the way text style works, over here, no, actually, let's have a look. That one's got different ones, I think. Right. The way text styles work, when you say file new, so we'll just get a new file and look at it's switched to vector, crying out loud. Right, we'll look at the text styles. You always have in here, yours probably won't look like mine for a start, because in the drop down, I have show hierarchical turned on and sort by type. I think by default they are turned off. And there's also a preview thing turned on. Where's the preview? Show samples. I cannot be doing with that. I can't look at that. No. So what I do with this to make it easier for me is I turn off the samples, because if I have a dark thing in a dark interface, I can't see it anyway. And then I turn on a hierarchy, which means I can visualize in like a tree structure the styles. But the styles we're actually looking at here, this base style has the body style in it. And within there, we've got headings. These are default styles. So every time you say file new, that's what you get. A couple of things you can do with that. Right, what I do with it, if I'm starting completely new, so not based on a template, in here is, I would go into here and I would, where have they gone? Where have they gone? You can, somewhere in here, where have they gone? Right, delete the base group. That gets rid of everything, apart from these styles at the bottom. So I would then delete those as well. So I'm left with literally no styles whatsoever. Then I go to the disclosure triangle and I import my styles. And notice what I have in here. I've got my setup folder for today. I've got a document palette and my text styles. So I just click on that and open. It shows me all the styles that were in the file I selected. If any conflict with what I've got, it will give me an opportunity to rename it or overwrite it. There's nothing to conflict. You've just seen me delete the lot. So I'm just going to click OK. And now I have my preferred default styles. Now, if those are the styles that I always want to use in every project, you have the option to go back to the disclosure triangle and save these styles as the default. And now, every time, if you did that, every time you create a new blank file, it will have your preferred styles in it. I don't do that for two reasons. One, I'd still have to keep them up to date if I made any changes, and then I'd be constantly saying, save these as the default, save these as the default. But the other reason is that I teach people, and their system wouldn't be set up like that. So I leave it in the default setup so I can say this is what it will look like for you. But if I was using this and I wasn't teaching people, then I may well import my styles. The other way of working with the styles is to create them in a template. So what that would look like is if you go to create a new file and you base it on a template. So for instance, this is Mike's ebooks, this is my ebooks. They're different. The styles inside them are different. So if we go to this one and we look at the styles down the side, there's my base styles and my headings. And this is a template in terms of it's got everything in it. This has a document palette with global colours in it that if I change one thing, so if this turned out to be that I was doing this for something else, I could change the text in here. I'm not looking to change the name. I'm looking to edit spell. Crying out loud. Let's go to hex sliders. Right, so let's say I want that text to be totally different. That updates everything. All the styles, the text, the content, the whole works. So a template is a good place to put the styles, and they can be different on a per template basis. What you're doing in here, if you say save as default, is that's across the board. No matter what you create, those are the styles you're going to get, which could be what you want. It might be what you want, might not be. Okay, what else we got?
Sol Hat says, what about ignoring the baseline grid via page number text style?
Yes, you could choose to do that if you wanted to do it that way. Yeah, no, nothing wrong with that at all.
That's the lot.
Oh, we got all the questions.
We're all questioned out.
There I was, settling down there. Right, okay, so we've got any last minute questions that people have thought of? Oh, I love the way, right, how I'm doing this. I've got this text window and it's got the comments in it, and I've got the thumbs up and the thumbs downs in there, and we've got a thumbs down. Thank you very much for that. We've got 95 thumbs up according to this. Could we go for the 100 before we finish? I shall hang around until we get the 100. Keep doing it. Right. How's Jammy doing? Has Jammy got the crown?
Jammy's still got the crown.
Excellent, Jammy. I'm impressed. I am really impressed. The Artist Haven says my brain is melted. Yes, but it's fun, isn't it? You've got to admit, it's fun. Right. Oh, 96. Excellent. We're nearly there. And Ignatio's glad they've got a replay. Yes. Now, what happened this time with YouTube? They're crazy. This time with YouTube, I went through the whole thing, and obviously I keep telling you guys, if we're live, I am not putting adverts on it. It's not happening. I can't imagine. Do I have to stop if there's an ad? Does everybody see the same ad? Do they see the ads at the same time? I don't care. They're off. So I turned everything off. Obviously, I only set this up on Friday night, Sunday morning. I comes to it today and I looks at it and they turn the ads on. And I'm like, no, I'm not working around ads. It's not happening.
It's another one from Ignacio here.
Okay, that's a question.
Can you show us how to add a hyperlink?
Yes, I can do that. Would that the shortcut was working, but it's not. Right, let's go and get some text. What have we got? Oh, we've got some text in here. This will do nicely. Right, we've got this outline, haven't we? Let's say this data visualization. I want to link it somewhere. So I select it. Right, one option was it used to be available on the right click. So first off, I'm looking for it on the right click. We have got insert hyperlink. So you make your selection, insert hyperlink. That brings up this dialog, which drives me mad because it defaults to the last type of link you created. And the link could be to an anchor, an email, a file, a page, or a section. Most times I want it to be a URL. So it remembers the last one. Then you look at this URL here, and what it does is it gives you http://. So there's no S in it for a start. So I always have to put the S in, which is secure. It then uses the text that you had selected. So the only time that works is if the text you had selected was like ElaineGiles.com, which 9 times out of 10 is not. So I then have to select that and then get rid of it. And then type in the URL. So seeing as though it's data visualization, we'll go to the Excel trainer. Right. Hopefully is it .co.uk?
Yeah.
Right. So I've put in the actual URL. The only other option that you've got in this dialog box to think about is the character style. Now, we have talked about text styles. It's a whole 2-hour epic on its own. But you have different types of styles. Paragraph styles is what we've been working with today. But you also have character styles. The distinction between the two is paragraph styles apply to an entire paragraph of text. The character styles apply to only a selection of characters. And I would want that to be a hyperlink style so people understand that they can tap it or click it. So click OK. That is what that is set to in here. So in my styles in here, we have a hyperlink style. There it is. So let's right click on that and edit it. And that's where everything's coming from. So if I'm looking for the color in here and I would like that to be less in your face, so let's say I would like that to be more that color, less purpley to be honest, like that, then I can redefine the style and that redefines it. So it's now obvious that that is a link. And if I were to export that, remember, if you want the hyperlinks to work, it's got to be a digital export or slide the slider for clickable hyperlinks. That is how you create a hyperlink. Now, there is a lot more to that if you want to do, if you want it to come from a data merge or whatever. So you've got a whole range of links that you want to create, but to just create one, that is how you create it. Right, we're up to 105 now, so thank you very much for that. We've got any more questions?
No, that's it.
Right, that's it then. So I will be back next week when we're looking at data merge. If you've already got questions on data merge, let me know. So mail me in the week, ping me on social. Don't do the Facebook thing or the Insta. Don't send a DM because I'm useless with them. So there's a contact form on my website. That's a good place to start. So if you've got anything that you are doing with it, like we've just had the was it candy chocolate recipes? Quite liking that. Just ping me and let me know. So if you've got some specifics, maybe how you tidy the data up quickly or anything like that, then let me know in hand. Other than that, I haven't decided what data we'll be using yet, but it'll be interesting. It's always interesting, isn't it? Oh, the Artist Haven has all the questions on all the data merge things. Well, ping me in the week if you like, or leave them till next week. Completely up to you. So, for the moment, have we managed to keep... No, we've just broken the 2-hour mark. People panic when they see the length of it. But, you know, there's only so much you can cover in 5 minutes, isn't there? And that's not really what I do. But I hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time. So I will say goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
That's my trusty assistant, Mike, and we'll both see you next time, which is next week. Next week. It won't be long. Bye, guys.